All right. Well, we are at our time, so why don't we get started? Welcome, everyone. I know that our presenters today would like to have a really interactive group. So if you're able to have your camera on, that's great. And at some point, I think she'll ask us to unmute ourselves. So I'm Carrie Hopkins-Iles. I'm the Deputy Director for ICUDDR. And we are so excited to have you here this afternoon, or it's afternoon here in the States, at least today. And I have asked Verna, I basically told her, you're doing this presentation for us today on the gamification of education, practicing games and interactive ways to engage students. And I know this is a topic that many of us are interested in, and maybe have been interested in for some time, but certainly became it became really important when we had everything move emergently during COVID-19 to online learning. And some of us were just kind of showing PowerPoints and lecturing, speaking about myself, and hoping to mix things up and make it more interactive. So I asked Veronica, or Verna Philippe, who is a registered psychologist, a licensed professional teacher, and an internationally credentialed addictions professional. She is currently connected with DLS CSB as the director of the SUD program under the School of Professional and Continuing Education, and at PLM as an associate professorial lecturer 3. She is a UNODC Global Master Trainer. She's conducted over 40 trainings and seminars throughout Africa, America, Asia, and Europe. And she advocates for people with substance use disorders by assisting non-governmental organizations who serve marginalized populations. She's also the technical advisor to the Department of Education's Preventive Drug Education Resource Material, which is used by elementary and secondary level teachers. She has done presentations for us with ICUDDR on similar topics before. She was part of the planning committee for this conference, and she is very active in the Asian Pacific Regional Coordinating Center. So I'm really pleased to introduce you, Verna, and to be an active member in your session today.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So good day. So I think that we are from different parts of the world. So we are all very much aware of the challenges that we face because of COVID, wherein it propels us to actually adapt and adjust to different setting and different scenario. As a background, so Carrie mentioned with last year, ICUDDR helped us to actually pilot the adaptation of the universal treatment curriculum in the Philippines setting. So, but initially, so when we were upon our discussion with Kim, it was supposed to be still delivered through the traditional face-to-face setting. But because that was supposed to be sometime April, but by March 15, our country went into the lockdown. And in fact, in my place, well, not here, but like the region where I live, we are still in quarantine. So we're in the world's longest quarantine since March 15 of 2020. Classes has been suspended at least a week prior to that. So during the our Philippine adaptation, so it also shifted not only to the adaptation of the course to make it suited to more academic setting, how to deliver it to students, but also to adapt it to an online setting. And it's quite challenging with regards to how do we engage the students in how do they feel that they are participants in our sessions. So that's when we discovered and tried like different different strategies, different applications to be able to actually be part and integrated. So in some ways, we already receive feedback because of the pilot training that we did. So we already received feedback from the participants whose age ranges. So they're all adult learners. So some from mid 20s up to the oldest is about 70. So our participants, initial participants, are actually graduate students, guidance counselors, psychology professors, and like so they're administrators also from the Office of Student Affairs. Okay. So allow me to share my screen, and please do forgive me if I yawn. Just imagine that this is my we're 12. I'm 12 hours ahead of you. So so let's see. So let's start with okay. So that is so earlier I was we were actually watching the feedback of the students on what are the challenges that they experience in terms of online learning. So I was well, it's still daunting to see the figures because like one of our participant Ariel from the University of Cusco who did like a very quick survey among their group among his classmates about how many of them are satisfied, the level of satisfaction that they have in terms of online learning. And it seems that in that case, so of course, so by rank, according to the preference, so a lot of students, majority of the students said that they were not satisfied. So followed by neutral, and then the least is that they were satisfied with the learning. And there are, of course, we are very much aware that there are a lot of factors, not only for the students, the institution, but even the environment that actually contributes to it. And I guess that for some of us who are working in an institution in which you have a learning management system, so there are a lot of activities that are already embedded to it. However, there are still some limitations in terms of actual the possibility of making our class more engaging. But there are also a lot of universities, particularly from the government funded sectors in Asia and Africa, in which learning management system is not actually available for us. So we have to find ways on how to on what to use and how to engage the students. Okay, so let's start. So some of you might have lunch and it might be like that period wherein you're getting sleepy. So let us start with just an experience on how to play Kahoot. So which is one of the application that I will discuss later on. So please open another browser and go to www.kahoot.it, or if you have the app in your phone or in your tablet, please do open it up. So the PIN number, it will, when you open that, when you go to the link, it will ask for your PIN number, and please provide 8210739 as your PIN. Okay, so I will actually share that with you. So that,
I'm playing alone.
yeah, yes. Okay. So, I can hold on a second. There's a volume for that. So in this case, you will, because I program it, that you will also be able to actually see the questions and the choices in your gadgets. So you don't have to look into the Zoom views to be able to see all the questions. So we're halfway now. So I mean like for there's already 8 participants. Some of you might be dropping. Okay. But feel free to join at any time. Okay, so let's start the game. So the answer is false. So abstinence. So it's actually well-being. That's the goal of treatment. So let us, and then it will show your score. So basically, so the faster that you enter your answer, the higher your scores will be.
Oh, Xavier's the one to beat.
Yeah. So let's go to the next question. Okay, so everyone got it correctly. So that's relapse. So let's see the scoreboard. Ooh. So next question. Okay. So in DSM-4TR, so and prior to that, so withdrawal is still unnecessary for the diagnosis of substance use disorders, but for DSM-5, so as long as you meet at least two of the X number of criteria that they have listed, so you could actually be diagnosed with SUD. So this is our scoreboard. So Carrie still remains on top, followed by Xavier and then Azucena. So our fourth question. Okay, so methamphetamine hydrochloride is actually like in our country, it's commonly known as shabu. So meth, so that's a stimulant. Okay, let's see the scoreboard. Okay, so it's still the same ranking. And then the last question. Okay, so that is at the present. Yay! And then we'll see the final score. So, okay, so we have Azucena got 5 out of 5. Xavier also got 5 out of 5. And Carrie who also got 5 out of 5. Okay.
Woohoo!
So you see, like so all of them got the same number of correct answers, but also the speed on which they were able to answer to encode their answer would also count. So, but there are different ways, and we're gonna talk about that. So, good morning, everyone. So, feel free to join us anytime. It's like really nice to see familiar faces and new faces as well. So I like this kind of like sort of class because it's like very intimate and small. So that's an example of Kahoot. So what if you can integrate it like at any time, like as a learning experience for your class. So, but before we go into that, and I thought initially that we're gonna be streamed and we're gonna be in a back room. So what I did was um, to actually think of like ways to be able to get your responses. I didn't realize that we can just unmute ourselves. But anyways, so this is an example so that we can also see like a Mentimeter. So here is that when we talked about virtual classroom, so what's the first word that comes to your mind? Okay, so hold on a second. Let me stop sharing because what I will do is copy the link. Okay. So normally, so what I do if I have a Mentimeter and I'm using Zoom in my classroom is that I'll just put this in the chat box so that my students don't actually have to encode anything. So if you click on that link, it will automatically direct you to the question. But there are, again, for Mentimeter, there are different ways to actually respond to it. So you could actually go to www.menti.com, enter the code, which is 2110 8241. You can click the link in the chat box that I provided, or if you have your phone, you could actually scan this QR code and it will also automatically direct you. Okay, so let me stop sharing and let me check what are your responses.
So if you're just joining us, there is a link in the chat and please click on it and you can indicate 1 to 3 words that come to mind when you hear virtual classroom so that Miss Verna can show us how we can use Menti.
Okay, so let me see. I can actually share with you while it's you guys are responding. Okay. So let's see your responses. So these are the words that comes to your mind. So when you hear the word virtual class, the words virtual classroom, so you talked about low participation, we talked about homework, about school and work, and wow, okay. So there's an interaction, there's like fatigue, tiredness, community. So distance, so it could be hours. We talked about Zoom. Okay. We talked about meeting in person, internet, learning, static, great, fun, um, imagine personal. Okay, so this one is in Spanish, I think camera. So, and tareas. So, would our translator kindly translate that for me? So these are some of the things that we get. Okay, so well, I'll teach you later on how to make one. Okay, so there's a comment. Oh, homework. Okay, thank you. So thank you for letting me. Okay, so like when we talked about virtual classrooms, so basically that's the reality of everyone at the moment. So I think that in some countries, like schools were allowed to resume. In some countries, school for this academic school year, all classes will still be um, hold virtually. So there are both positive and negative like words like in when we talked about like your word association with regards to virtual classroom and in reality, so just like in any other setting, whether it's face to face or traditional classroom, there would be some of the advantages and disadvantages when we talked about learning. So what are the challenges that is normally seen when it comes to online classes? So one of the greatest problem that according to research is the dropout or the attrition rate during for online classes. So it could be due to open education or open universities. It could be like on the synchronous sessions or even like diploma courses. But this has been consistent since the early 1990s up to the present. Surprisingly, I was sharing this with Gary. I think some of you have come earlier. So I was surprised to read one of the um, articles of Kisalsek and Halwa in 2015. So they said that their study shows that online learners in basically collectivist culture, Africa, Asia, and Latin America scored substantially lower grades as opposed to individualistic culture when it comes to online learning. And they also have a sex difference when it comes to that women are scores lower than men when it comes to online learning as opposed to the traditional classroom face-to-face setting. And it is their study actually is of a big group. There are about over 100,000 participants in 21 online courses. So in most situation, like learning is still a social interaction, and I guess it's so by nature. So we tend to learn because we interact, the exchange of ideas, the discourse, and maybe like the challenges that we have when it comes to actually being part of a group or still feeling connected when we are just looking at them monitors or we're not even physically present with one another poses some challenges for different kinds of learners. So earlier though in the student panel, no, so I think that we tend to for by some chance we tend to select learners who are self-motivated, no? So they are also self-regulated. So like doing an online class is not much of a challenge, but we could say that there are a lot of ways that we could improve the engagement of our students, but not every because but there will be a different degrees of engagement and work that is needed to be able to ensure that the students will remain in class. So Sir Watka in 2005 mentioned that educators must be adequately prepared with techniques and strategies needed to teach effective online courses. But let's face it, when the pandemic came, so some of us might actually have experience doing remote teaching, but that would be a very small percentage of us. Like, we were not only trained, so we were taught and also trained to deliver our lessons and our materials in a traditional face-to-face setting. And for some of you, you might actually have the privilege to be trained by your university prior to the school year on how to um, deliver courses online. And I think that it's still one of the greatest challenges that we face in my countries that where that can be seen is that teachers think that, professors think that it's just like the same strategies that they're using in classroom, or it's just basically moving the lessons to a virtual platform in which it is not necessarily an effective and an efficient way to teach. Okay, so what are the advantages of online classes? So let me just, because when I click it, it will go directly to. So I will share you the link for this. There's our show. Okay. So can you guys also, click on the link. So there are actually, so it's not a word count, but rather it's in here, like I pre-selected the common advantages, and I think what I want you to do is to actually rate it. Okay, so let's
I don't think
see.
it's working for me. I don't know if it's working for other people.
Okay.
Like when I do the drop down. Oh, wait. Okay, now I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, can I say something?
Sure, yes, please.
Yes, one benefit is that you can present from your convenient location, hotel room, bedroom, sitting room, any place, and thereafter you can do other things. You don't have to leave your home, don't have to travel from your location.
So that's
Thank you.
I guess like the convenience, right? So let's see
Yes.
what's responses are. Is everyone finished answering? I can present share the screen so you guys can see. Okay. So our ranking. That you get to see. So far, so majority of you like it because of the flexibility of schedule, and then second is accessibility, and then the third is cost efficient. So it's um, when you do online learning. Okay. These are our answers when it comes to what do we think are the advantages of online learning. So based on the options that are provided. So now let us. These are some of the applications that we can use. So what I will do. Okay. So um, so we have to remind ourselves that it's actually I like what the student said earlier, that's a reminder that that they also have they realize that they also have to be kind to us because everyone is adjusting, but even the best of circumstances, effective distance learning can be difficult to accomplish. So this is from the one of the magazines for educational technology, in which they had a special edition specifically for online learning. Okay, so those the tools that we used earlier for interactive presentations are Kahoot and Mentimeter. And what we're gonna show you is like how to actually like create and use your own. So hopefully it's something that you find useful in your class. Okay. So what is Kahoot? It's a game-based learning platform used to create games and quizzes. In my case, I actually even use it to administer like the midterm examination of my students. There are several pricing options, and discounted rates for educators are provided. However, Kahoot is an annual billing, unlike Zoom. Zoom, you can pay it monthly, right? So Kahoot will show you the monthly rate, but they will charge you for 12 months. There are two ways to play it. You could actually download the app. So for in downloading the app, so you could have it in your phone, in your tablet. So you have, and then via browser, in the browser there's no actually login required, but you need to actually have the pin. Okay. So there are options for individual or team play. So both Kahoot and Mentimeter, you could actually use it not only on a virtual platform, but also on our traditional face-to-face classroom. So in fact, so it's one of the ways that I get introduced to Kahoot is that we used to play that as a team in class. Okay. So you can group your students. They only need one phone, and then they can discuss. So it's a form of, it could also be used for collaborative learning. So, but because all of us now are in the comforts of our home, so we do individual um, individual use. So it can be assigned and played live. Okay, so it can be both. So self-paced and then like what we did earlier, which is a classroom interactive play. So it can be used for free. However, so the challenge is that there's a limited number of gadgets so you can have a maximum of 10 players. It used to be, I think, 20 or 50 players, but now it's only 10 players for free. Okay. So how to use Kahoot? Okay, so first is we have to create an account at www.kahoot.com. So when you search it, it's gonna pop out. So you log in, so you create your account. So and then on the upper right side, click create. So once you're logged in, so you can choose a template or again click create. So I will show that to you in a while. Then you can add your question. You can click your question, type you can click the question type, which are the different types, and then you can encode the question, and then provide the choices and then check the correct answer. Or an easier way is also to import your saved file. So, and I'll show you how to do that as well. And then once completed, click done so that your work will be saved, and then you can already share your game. Okay. So what are the steps that I told you all about? So we'll demonstrate that. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so wait, hold on a second. Let me just. So let's see how. So you can actually, like, if you're working on your laptop and you have your Kahoot account, or you don't have a Kahoot account yet, so you could. So when you log in, so this is like what's gonna. Wait, no, that's not one. The home. Okay, so this is what would. So once after you logged in, you create your account. So then this is where you're gonna go. So in my case, so I already have some sort of my Kahoots there because so this is I have this account for about a year, more than a year now. Okay, and then so after that you could actually click create. Okay, so and then there's actually, so you could choose for a template. So formative assessment, discussion with posts, but I cannot access this because this one is on a higher plan. and then the teach with slides, practice spelling, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot. But normally I just create mine because the Kahoot that, one of the issues that they have in, I think it's quizzes that those examinations that are given to the other students are found um, in the same platform. So in this case, so my Kahoot is not visible to everyone. So I just click create, okay, and then there is here. So we could actually start. So start typing our question. So here, so you could select what type of quiz would you like. So earlier we played just basically a multiple choice and a true or false answer, but you could also have a puzzle. So if you have the most expensive one, you could actually type an answer. So you could use word cloud similar to Mentimeter, brainstorm, and even ask open-ended questions. Okay, so let's say, for example, that we have, okay, so let's say quiz. So let's say, okay, so how many international conference? So, and then you just type your international conferences. um, ICUDDR hosted. Oh, so there's one of the challenge when we're making the examination here is that there is actually a limit to the number of characters that we can use. So sometimes you really have to be like you really practice your technical writing, short and sweet. So and sometimes when you actually try to do like case analysis, so it's challenging. Okay, so maybe like what you can do is to give the case. So what I do is like to give the case on a separate file, send it to my students via Zoom, the attachment, and then they can just like answer the questions in Kahoot. Okay. So let's say, so um, what would be my question? So let's say just true or false. So easier. So let's see what is so, so true or false. Let's say for example tramadol is a controlled drug. And then you have to select you have to uh, choose your answer. So true, and then you move on to a question. You could, when you click this, they would actually give you a lot of uh, photos. So like if you click that, they would give you some. But normally, so in the game that we played earlier, so we have, and then you could, yeah, so then the image would upload. You could actually upload the image. But in my case, so most of the time, so I actually don't add um, photos. So if you're from a country like mine, in which the internet connection is not really that good, so by removing the photo, you're actually helping like the students be able to play the game because it doesn't load as slow. And then you add a question, and then you uh, check if it's again quiz, true or false, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the way that we here. But there's also here, if you see when I click, so there's an import spreadsheet. Okay. So when you import a spreadsheet, you would download their template. So, and then save it, and then select that file, and then you would just upload it. So let me just stop sharing because I will show you the template that I downloaded because as you know, okay, as you have observed, I type slowly. So uh, let me just minimize this because I am far, far away from home. I am, okay. So this is the template. So when you download their template, so So it will tell you, so let's say for example, so the question is a maximum of 120 characters. So I write my questions there, and then the second column shows the answer one. So that's the first option. This is for a multiple choice question. So that's maximum 75 characters and so on and so forth. So answer 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have on the fifth column, on the sixth column is actually the time limit. So normally, if you're actually being streamed, like if you're doing a webinar or something, like there's a delay, so you want to make it a little bit longer. So if you think that the questions will be answered in a 20-second, so make it a 30-second um, duration. And then you have the correct answers. And then when you save that, you could actually upload that. So I will close this. So, and then we'll share the upload so that we can, so you can just see how it is being uploaded. Okay, so then I'll select the file. So it's in my desktop, that's the Kahoot quiz template. And then I'll upload it. And then, so all the questions have been imported. Okay, so, sorry. So in this case, so we have to, here, so I was not able to show you earlier. So there on the right side is the time limit. So you could actually, it could be as fast as 5 seconds or as long as 4 minutes, especially for the open-ended question. Okay, so and all my questions are there. So with all the time limit that is given. So which is sometimes easier, like if your university requires you to submit a copy of the examination, so this is something that you can do. And then what we do, so in Kahoot, it's not automatically saved. So it will be, if you exit without saving it, it will go into draft. But normally, so after you're done, you click done. Okay, so I don't have a title. So let's say demo 2. Okay. And then you could actually test it. Okay, so which I normally do. Okay, and then you could play now or share it with others. So say for example, so in play now, so you have two options, like to teach, the one that we do, and assign. So when we do assign, so you are the ones that are actually providing the deadline up to when the game will be available. So you could do it as a homework to your students. Okay, so good. So click on the date and then there's the time. Okay, and then if you want to have the question timer, okay, or none, and then randomize answer order. So it shuffles for every nickname generator. So because there are some concerns with regards to the name, but it's not. Okay, and then when you create, so the link will be provided, and then you just copy that and you can share it either into your Google Classroom, into your Microsoft Teams, even Facebook. Okay. So you copy the URL, and then when you actually post that, share that, then your students will be able to play your homework or even like a take-home examination or that stuff. Okay. So we stop sharing for a while. Yes, Grace, somebody raised your hand. Yeah.
Grace, did you have a question?
Uh,
Maybe not.
okay. So that's the student-based Kahoot, which I also showed you earlier. So So now what's the beauty of Kahoot is that it automatically checks your paper, and then you have the report options, which you can either just view, download, or print your response. It also allows you to identify difficult questions. What are the questions in which there are a lot of people that were not able to get the questions. So individual scores are available, and even in cases like ours, it will tell you exactly if when your student gets disconnected, in the way that you will see that they don't no longer have answers, and the duration on the time where they were answering is 0 seconds. And then there's also an item analysis available. Okay, so let's go to our to
Verna?
your yes. Sorry, there's
Um, there's a question in the chat that from Dr. Carlos, who says, if I want to work with psychopathological aspects, how do I upload this info to the platform?
are you uploading the questions or the PowerPoint?
You can unmute yourself if you want to share, Dr. Carlos.
Yeah, this is such a small group. Feel free to unmute yourselves.
Yes, please. I'll ask him to unmute so he can perhaps give us more information.
So while we're waiting for clarification on that, so
Yeah.
let me just share with you. So I'll go back to home, and we have this. Okay, where is your? It should be. Okay, so in here, so you will see that there's already, this is the one that we did earlier. So there's already one play. So when I go to the reports section, so it will tell me the game that has been played. So
Hi.
hi, sir. Okay, stop sharing for a while.
I cannot now fluency in English, but I'm going to try to explain my question. For a long time, I've been working with all these procedures, and I pretend to make not a game, just a very specific form to teach about psychopathology and comorbidity with substance use disorders, etc., etc. And my question is to engage a really knowledge about how to manage this platform, and to fit this platform with very specific information. I don't know if I explained it about it.
Yes, sir. I think my understanding is that you already have and please correct me if I misunderstood. So you already have a specific way on how you deliver the lesson. So you already have this format and template, and you wanted to know how it can be uploaded or applied to your to this platform. Did I get it correctly?
Okay. What? Excuse
Yeah,
me.
so, sir, and I think that we do have an interpreter, right? So is that
I'm
correct?
sorry,
So maybe they can actually also interpret for us. If you guys are more comfortable speaking in Spanish, please don't hesitate. So we do have an interpreter that will help us understand.
Ya. Bueno, hablo en español. Sí. Durante mucho tiempo he intentado trabajar con medios electrónicos para enseñar a pacientes y familiares, y trabajar con datos específicos basados en evidencia, y estoy viendo que esta plataforma puede ser de gran utilidad. Sin embargo, me pregunto cómo alimentar la plataforma con datos basados en evidencia. Tengo que sacar datos de artículos, ¿O qué tengo que hacer en ese aspecto?
So thank you so much. So, sir,
Gracias.
unfortunately, for this case, you could actually not feed the data. So it's more of the quiz interactive type, but you could actually upload some PowerPoint presentation. But if it's like, I think, are you looking for like statistical analysis with all of the data, like a software for that? So maybe this is not the
Sí,
right,
sí, exacto. ¿Cuál es la razón? Tal vez es mi propia contaminación porque yo estaba pensando en un programa que se llama SPSS, que es un programa con el que trabajamos en diseño estadístico, pero obviamente no es igual a esta plataforma. Sin embargo, la perspectiva tiene que darse en elementos que faciliten el trabajo con la población. Yo estoy orientado más hacia la población, no hacia la técnica.
Thank you so much for that, sir. And I think that's so for statistical software, so we have SPSS, Statistica, and there is a free statistical software from the University of Denmark. I'll check the name later and I can send it to Kari so that you can get it. But I don't know how to use it because it's not something that I'm trained to do. So, and again, it's a different one. But I think that, and I'm really glad, Dr. Carlos, that you mentioned that you wanted to make the data like available to the general population and to make it more relevant to the current generation. Because in a lot of ways, so the challenge that we have now, and that's what one of ICUDDR's goal is to actually bridge the gap between research and practice, so that so that it gets translated actually into what we know as evidence-based. How do the people on the ground are able to work on it? Okay. So I'm sharing with you the report on earlier.
Perdón,
So
se llama...
hold on a second.
sacaron.
Let me just...
¿Me escuchan? Termino con esto.
Thank you for that. Oh, okay. So I don't have to turn off the translation every time because I thought that it's gonna be echoing or something. So that's what's taking me long.
That's okay. Thanks for being so careful.
Yeah. So this
Sí,
is
gracias.
your earlier. So there's no difficult question. So you of course, like this is something that all of you are good at. So you have here the summary. So in the summary, and I'll show you, like maybe I should show you one that has a difficult question. So I'm able to see we're not able to finish, that they get dropped probably sometime in the game. So, but let me just show you. Okay, so let's go back to the report. So one of the, where's my refresher course? That's so I'm looking for one. Okay, so let's see about this. So let's see. So we have, okay, factors. So you see in the summary that there is one difficult question. So here in this case, women are much more likely to conceal their substance use. So only 33% got it correctly. And even the duration, so the average is about 16.89 seconds before people were able to answer it. So one student needs help. So, but in this case, I don't think that he finished. So it means that you will see, so when he ranks the last in the class, but when you actually, you will see that he has 14. So most likely, so during the start of the game, so So in this case, not the start of the game. So you will be able to see that question number 1. So he was able to see it, but his answer was incorrect, and it took him 9 seconds to answer. And then the rest is like he no longer, so he, most likely his internet got disconnected. So in that case, so you will also see the duration and the point. So like if you're from Asia and Africa, and students will tell you that I was not able to answer because I did not see the question. So they, you would actually be able to see how long they actually spent per question, the duration that they spent per question, whether they answer it or not. So, and then you actually have all the players here. So, so their rank, so it could be, so we have, yeah, so the rank, the correct answers, and then what are the questions which give you individual results. Okay, so it already analyzed the questions for you, and then when you actually, you could you can actually download the report. So when you click download, so you will be able to actually get the individual scores and answers of all your students. So that's why you could actually use this in major quizzes. So I'm not gonna download it anymore. Okay, so and then I'll stop sharing the Kahoot also. I'll go back to my PowerPoint. So and I think that like if you've been teaching, like for us when we started teaching when there are no learning platform, so checking papers is one of the most time-consuming activity that we tend to do, right? Okay. So and then my next discussion is about Mentimeter. So one that we used earlier. So Mentimeter is an interactive presentation tool that allows users to engage their audiences in real time. So what's good about this is that there's no app installation or download required. You don't even actually have to have your account. For students, if they want to use it, it's not time consuming because they will not be asked for their information. So like Kahoot, Mentimeter can also be used for free, and there are limited number of slides, but there are actually a huge number of participants that can join even for a free account. So there are several pricing options. Discounts are also provided for educators, but like Kahoot, it is an annual billing. Now, one of the challenges with Mentimeter is that when you actually create like a slide, you can only, well, not create it, but like when you save it and share it, like when you're sharing it for presentation, so it has to be 48 hours before, at least 2 days before your activity, because if you actually embed the link and the pin in your PowerPoint, what it would expire after 2 days. Okay. Lucia, I'll go back to your question. So let me just, okay, stop sharing. I will request our dear translators. Can you kindly translate the question in the chat box? I think it has something to do with the report on how to download or something. Not much. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. So I interrupted you. Not much of an analysis, but I can show you a report that I downloaded. Okay, let me just look into my files so that you can actually see how it looks like.
Berna, can you just be careful with making sure you're speaking closely to the microphone so they can hear you well?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Also, it's raining very hard now. So
Oh, oh, is that what it is? Gotcha.
yeah,
Thanks.
that's also one of the reasons why.
The interpreters want to make sure that they can get everything you say for our colleagues.
So this is one example of the, I have to move closer. So I'll show you when you download the report. So this is what it will show you. So to me, like I inform my students to like input their surname and then their initials. So you have the total score points, correct answers, but you actually have an overview, so which is the summary of your game. So like 71.93% were able to get the items were correct. So 28 items were not. So and then the final scores. So you'll see that total scores. I think I had some of the columns here, or I deleted already some. But this is the summary. So it tells you like this is your question. So what are and then the answers. So if it's wrong and everything. And then there's the raw report data at the end. So which is per person. So one. So and this would be the number of players. So that's the type of report that when you download the report, that will, this is what you're gonna get. Okay. So there's no specific analysis, but it does tell you the items that are difficult, the number of students that were able to get that particular item correctly, and challenging questions, and then the easy questions as well. But no advanced statistical treatment. Okay. So are there further questions? So to continue, so when we do Mentimeter, so how to use? So we create an account at www.mentimeter.com. So click new presentation, enter the title, choose a slide type on the right side, click content, encode the required information, click share, oops, sorry, copy the PIN number or download the QR code, and then to share the results in class, click present. So I'll stop sharing that so we can look into the Mentimeter. So I think it's like here. So once you log in, you already have your account. So now you could create your presentation. I think this is the demo. So here, when you click the type, so it also allows you to choose. Do you want to do a multiple choice? Would you like to do a scales? So word cloud, open-ended, ranking, so those kind of things. So let's say, for example here, so there's two statements. So Mentimeter evaluation. So I can use Mentimeter in class. Mentimeter is easy to use. Okay. So Mentimeter is uh, let's say for example. Okay, so and then they have here you have more characters allotted than Kahoot. And there are different layouts, so you can do the result, you can do the spider. So I just normally do this sliders. So in this case, you could actually change the value for your Likert scale. If you want it 1, 2, 3, you have the option. So like show total average. Okay, so if I want you to answer all quest items, so I will just click that. And then what I will do is share. And then, yeah, anyone with the link or QR code. So I copy the link, share it with you, or download the QR code, put it in my presentation. So here you could see it expires in 2 days. So, and then, so but here what's good with this is like if you go back to the type, so this same question will become multiple choice. Okay. So it could also be a word cloud. Okay, so it changes. And then, so when you present, like what I did earlier, so you just click present. But likewise here, you could also download the information. So if you're using Zoom, like normally, what we do is to just use the polling, right? But if so happens that you're not the host or you're using someone else's account, that could be difficult. So, but this one, so that's what we did. I think there was a question about the grades. And then you actually have here, you can click download results and then it will be saved as a PDF. And that is what is, and then I copied that PDF into my presentation, into my file. So that's what it looks like. So, so that's what easy. But for Mentimeter, if your account is like mine, that's free account. I think you can only use a maximum of 2 slides. However, so this is like a supplement. Okay, so this is not really so the what I showed you are supplements to the normal processes and the normal platforms that we use in our class. So these are just additional tools that we can use so that our students feel that even though we're not physically together, that their opinions, their thoughts still matter. But one of the things like in Kahoots, like we use that in our previous, like in our pilot training, and the participants were really engaged, and we were surprised about how much they like it. They said that they like it's like for some competition, the competition side of it also engaged the student, and in some ways ours, the one that when we played it earlier, because I thought we're gonna be streaming, I allotted a longer period of time, like 30 seconds. But normally when we play it, so like it's 20 seconds for a multiple choice and then 10 seconds for a true or false question. So, and they kind of like it. So,
Yeah, I feel like it helps keep people engaged and like awake. Like you're not just presenting, you're not just lecturing or reading off a slide or even like trying to chat. You really, the expectation is that they're engaging with it.
and then like for us for me for my classes I use Zoom, but the university also provide MS Teams. but I particularly like Zoom because I also receive good feedback from my students with just the basic use of polling. And it's just like a statement whether they agree or disagree. So I have like these are undergraduate students that's saying that mom, because like, and they are freshmen, so I really don't know them. So we were never had the chance to have a personal encounter, and they said that they feel that they're still part of the class because they feel that I ask them questions. So that's those kind of things. And then you also have, of course, the breakout rooms. But again, so let's say for example there are certain platforms that we actually don't have these features. So, and what we try to supplement it with what's available that can be used, because let's face it, so some of your university might actually provide you with a university account and have access to this technologies. But if you are working if you are living in resource challenged country like mine. So if it's like, and I have the privilege, I guess, of teaching in both worlds. So De La Salle College of St. Peniel is one of it's an exclusive private Catholic school, and then I teach at Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila, which is locally funded university. So I would see the polarities and the differences between these universities. So and the access to student. Yes, please, Karen.
I just want to like highlight something that you just said and make sure we're all thinking about it. You said you got good feedback from just using polling questions because they felt like you were asking, you were engaging them, they were heard. I mean, it's such a small thing, right? To just add some polling questions or to do one of the things you showed us today with significant positive results, as opposed to just presenting and maybe asking a few questions and expecting having an expectation of them participating, but maybe they won't. So it's such a small thing to add that could be so beneficial.
Yes, and I was actually so surprised. I mean, I wasn't expecting that kind of like that what he said, that student was hardcut, and and I feel bad because like I normally am good at memorizing faces, but because all I see are the block boxes and their names. So because when they, of course they can see my face, but like not all my students can turn on their camera because of the bandwidth will probably get disconnected or the likes. So and it's those little things, I guess. And some of us we of course we ask questions, but normally we do this in during asynchronous classes because we want those higher order learning questions, which is of course what's also expected from us. But there are certain simple discussions and things and platforms that we can use that even if they are not we are not physically present, like so they still feel some sort of connection to us. And I guess it's particularly relevant, like the way that I observe it here in my country is that it's actually quite easier for the adult learners. I mean, if you're teaching graduate students, those diploma courses, they tend to adopt more into the online learning setup in the sense that they might be technologically um, more behind than the younger generation. But when it comes to being able to fulfill the obligations of an online learner, because they're already motivated, they know how to manage their time, so they have that advantage. But when we talked about like if you're teaching the undergraduate students, so this is the particular time in their life where they're supposed to be having fun, interacting. Like social interaction is very much important to them. That's supposed to be the salience of adolescence, right? The characteristic, the salient characteristic of being an adolescent is like trying to find themselves by interacting with their peer group, which is basically caught in not only in the physical sense but even in the social sense. Because I think that they kind of see it different. Like when you do some party, it's okay, but it's not the same. So they don't feel that same probably connection. So in some ways, but they are young. So those are the small things that we are doing. I am doing in my class, and some of it we already received feedback. So hopefully you will also be able to find it as productive in your class and as easier to use. I am also not well, I am technologically challenged. I guess like I just have to adapt and adjust. I was born in a generation wherein you're not supposed to actually, touch gadget without permission, those kind of things. And now you really have to explore, fulfill your curiosity, don't be afraid, So there are a lot of options available. So you just choose the one that you feel works the best for you. So me,
So
I
this
like
is
sorry. So let me just
oh,
add, like for Kahoot, I sort of like it because it has like this kind of music, plus it's visual, it's colorful. So it tends to, and then the tactile form because you have to actually press something. So those,
mhm.
the different types of learners are sort of engaged. But if you have someone that's sort of kinesthetic, like someone that likes to walk, so I just tell them, you guys can walk. I can see you. So, just make sure that that you can hear me when I say kind of things. So thank you, Carrie. You wanted to say something.
Well, I just wanted to say it's perfect timing. We have about 13 minutes, so I wanted to make sure. I know you have encouraged it to be open, but I just wanted to really officially say if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to unmute or put the question in chat, whatever you prefer, and we can have more discussion before the end of Brenna's session.
Thank you so much. I would like to ask a very brief question. Maybe you told, but I could miss it. I used Kahoot due to NIDA Drug Fact Week. We made, they have some questions on Kahoot, and we used it on universities for students, and the questions were ready, so it was easy for us to just implement it. But which one, but I don't know too much about Mentimeter. Which one is user-friendly according to the students and also the trainers? Which one do you think are user-friendly for someone like me that are not very familiar with technology and learning new things? Which one would you recommend?
I think that would depend on your purpose. So Kahoot, you can engage it in games, and there are more. Actually, when you looked into Kahoot, there are a lot of templates and resources that are readily available because it's sort of public. Um, like for me personally, I like Kahoot because the features there I cannot use in Zoom. So like, cause in Zoom, like mostly polling, I can use like just the Zoom rather than the Mentimeter. But what I like about the Mentimeter is that, well, you can't do quizzes in Mentimeter because like it will not actually like, it's more of like a general discussion, a platform, a discourse rather than getting, rather than being it a formative assessment. Okay. So, but I like the fact that it doesn't ask you for any information when you use it. So, and the students kind of like it also because you don't actually have to log in, create an account, and all of those things, and like, all of the spam messages that will get into your folder. So, I guess it would also depend on like what platform do you use for your synchronous session? Right, so because like if you use Google Classroom, I think that there's a lot of limitations to that. So Mentimeter that integrated into that is also would be useful. Yeah.
And I can just say I have limited knowledge, but I can say with Kahoot, my children have used them because I think when school went to being online, like all the teachers were like Kahoot, Kahoot. And my children are 9 and 13, and they've been able to make their own Kahoots, and like they'll do it for fun sometimes. So it really is simple, which is nice for, like you said, Rabia, those of us who aren't necessarily fancy.
Okay, thank you so much.
Other questions? I saw some really nice comments in the chat. Great platform tools to enhance presentations and evaluations. Happy to be in this session. I mean, I can say for me, one of the reasons I keep asking Berna to come back is because I know that I need to improve this part of my teaching, so I keep like, okay, keep telling me, keep bringing it, because I will go in there and have my, go into Zoom, go into WebEx, go into Teams, whatever it is, and have my PowerPoint and ask some questions, but I know I need to mix it up and try to get, the students more involved in these different ways.
Ay, otra vez yo. Insisto en lo que comenté hace rato, porque yo no me dedico a la enseñanza. Yo atiendo pacientes, yo atiendo usuarios de drogas, atiendo a sus familiares. Y el uso de este tipo de tecnología de información, pues estoy viendo que resulta seriamente útil, porque los cambios conductuales, los cambios actitudinales que intentamos lograr los proveedores de servicios de tratamiento, con este tipo de tecnología y con este tipo de plataforma, se facilitan tremendamente. Es por eso que preguntaba hace un momento si se puede alimentar con otro tipo de información la plataforma, pero veo una gran utilidad en todo este proceso, yendo más allá de los escenarios escolares. ¿Qué opinas, verdad, de todo esto?
Sorry, can you repeat the last sentence? Like if they can to find more useful in...
Sí. ¿Cómo utilizar, o si es posible utilizar esta plataforma fuera de escenarios escolares y empezar a utilizarlo en escenarios donde se provee tratamiento directo?
Well, if you're conducting psychoeducation, you could actually like use this for your class. So we went old school like here, like because like I'm in doing rural-based treatment as of the moment. So, but sometimes when we do like psychoeducation, like when we talk about the signs of addiction or what are the different types of drugs, and then you could actually use that as a game. So in fact, so most of the questions that I have shown you are questions that we use for the universal treatment curriculum. So we use it for webinars. So, but it can actually be used for students. Yeah. Okay. So like for your classes. Fernando, would you like to add something?
Sure. I really liked your presentation. I see that this kind of tool, especially in school prevention, are really great because kids and students like challenges and they can go playing, and this helps to create a positive environment, positive virtual environment that is really needed in this moment. If not, the kids just realize in a formal class, it's very difficult to handle that. So the use of Kahoot, the use of Mentimeter, and many other tools are really great for in this moment. And we are just translating what is the positive school climate or the positive classroom climate through the virtual environment. So that's great. Thank you, Berna.
Welcome. Dr. Carlos, I guess that if you actually have like if you're implementing services to your clients, so like when you do psychoeducation, because this is also fun, so it can be also integrated. But both, I would say that Mentimeter and Kahoot was primarily developed as a supplement, for an educational tool. So it's mostly for classroom, online training, webinars, wherein it can be used. But we can actually expand its use based on your need, on as long as you see that it's appropriate. Like, like we always need like evaluation, like we always need to engage, like get the opinions of our, like if you, let's say for example, like in a facility, um, there is a decision that you wanted to make, and then, or like you're trying to get their opinion on some matters, policies that you want to change, you could just actually do it in a Mentimeter because it's anonymous. They will not actually be hesitant to respond to your question or to participate in that question, because unlike Google Forms, so most of the Google Forms, we make that mistake, no, that when we want that actually the students or like the participants to enter their email addresses. But in this case, there's totally, it's just my own honest opinion on what I feel or what I believe, and I don't feel that I will be put in the spot because I don't know who responded, said this or that. So that's also one of the things. I hope that you find that useful. So maybe some other participants from the group would like to add so that you can see that.
I would just say if I'm doing a virtual group, there's a lot of ways I feel like I could use Kahoots or Mentimeter for, for like, what do you could ask opinions, you could do some gamification to ask them like to get their views on things, to get their knowledge base, depending on what type of group you're doing, a family group, you could get, are people kind of understanding the disease concept, depending on what you're doing. Even like, when you did the Mentimeter with the visual at the beginning, like, what are some of the feelings they're experiencing? What are some of the, challenges? What are some things they hope for the future? You could have kind of like a, the during addiction words and the recovery words, so I feel like there's a lot of ways you could use it that could be different than just talking through a screen. And just to ask, I don't know if you know this answer, Verna, but Annette asked, is Mentimeter workable with Google Teams?
I'm not sure because I don't use Google Teams. Sorry, that's
Fernando, are you answering that? Are you saying you think so because wherever you can share a screen, you can use it?
Yes, actually, you can activate one app in one screen, and then you can share through the Meet, or
That makes sense.
you don't have to include that in the
Yeah.
in the Zoom. Let's say that.
Yeah.
I think that there's like maybe like the WebEx one. So one of the things that we use or haven't mastered until now is the WebEx. It's like difficult to share screen, like shifting from one screen to the other. Kind of challenging. But
I think we have a mental block against WebEx.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Hopefully, whoever the developer of WebEx is, if they are your friend, please tell them to make it more user friendly. I also put in the chat box. So one of the statistical software that I mentioned earlier, that's also an open access. So if you guys are interested, but I haven't tried using that. I'm not trained on that one because, like, anyways, there's SPSS, which you find more tutorial, but you might just be interested if you want to analyze your data.
So this is a perfect time to wrap up. And I want to just encourage you all that we have several great sessions going on in about 15 minutes. We have a great class about behavior activation. We have one about interactive teaching on a virtual platform. So similar topic that these are both in Spanish, but will be translated fully. And we also want to encourage you that the Latin America and Caribbean Regional Work Group is going to be in the open house. So if you want to stick your head in there and say hello, and some of us are in that group and we'll be there saying hi, and you can get involved if you want, or just ask what we're working on. But there's a lot of great things. And Verna, thank you so much. This was it went by so fast and I learned a ton. And I'm sure that everyone feels that way. And we're virtual round of applause.
Oh, and you're welcome, everyone, and thank you. Please say hi to the other groups, because
Yes.
I will
Go to sleep. Please go to sleep. It's 3 a.m. for you. We're
Well,
so
thank you,
grateful.
everyone. Hope that you have learned something. Have a great day.
Take care.